In the late 1990s, a group of college students rented a large house in a suburban neighborhood to throw a party. The house was situated on a quiet street, surrounded by other homes and families, and the students were excited to celebrate with their friends. As the night wore on, the party became rowdier and more boisterous. Music blared from the speakers, people danced, and alcohol flowed freely. However, as the night progressed, strange things began to happen. Guests reported feeling as if they were being watched, and hearing strange noises coming from the upstairs bedrooms. Some guests even claimed to have seen a figure moving in the shadows, but dismissed it as their imagination. As the night wore on, the occurrences became more frequent and more violent. One guest reported seeing a figure standing in the corner of the room, but when they turned on the light, no one was there. Another guest reported feeling a cold hand grab their shoulder, but when they turned around, there was no one there. Objects began to move on their own, and guests reported hearing strange whispers and voices that seemed to be coming from nowhere. As the night wore on, the occurrences became more terrifying. One guest claimed to have seen a figure with glowing red eyes staring at them through the window. Another guest reported feeling as if they were being strangled by an unseen force. Finally, the partygoers could take no more. They decided to leave the house and never return. As they made their way to the front door, they heard a loud crash coming from one of the upstairs bedrooms. When they went to investigate, they found that one of the bedroom doors had been ripped from its hinges and lay on the ground. The room was empty, but there was a cold, foreboding presence that seemed to fill the air. The students never returned to the house, but the legend of the haunted party house spread throughout the neighborhood. Over the years, many people have reported strange occurrences at the house, including unexplained noises, objects moving on their own, and even apparitions of ghostly figures. One night, a group of paranormal investigators decided to explore the abandoned party house. They set up cameras and other high-tech equipment to capture evidence of the supernatural. As they began their investigation, they heard strange noises coming from the upstairs bedrooms. One of the investigators reported feeling as if they were being watched by an unseen presence. Suddenly, the temperature in the room dropped significantly, and the investigators could see their breath in the air. The team continued their investigation and captured footage of objects moving on their own, doors opening and closing, and strange apparitions that seemed to flicker in and out of view. Some of the investigators even reported feeling as if they were being touched or pushed by an unseen force. The investigation team shared their findings with the public, and the legend of the haunted party house grew even more. People from all over the country came to see the house for themselves, hoping to catch a glimpse of the supernatural. Today, the house remains abandoned, a chilling reminder of the dark and haunted history that lurks within its walls. Whether the occurrences were the result of an overactive imagination or something far more sinister, one thing is certain: the memories of that terrifying night will never be forgotten. In the early 2000s, a group of friends rented a large, sprawling estate on the outskirts of a small town to throw a massive Halloween party. The estate was said to be haunted, but the group of friends laughed it off as just another spooky story. As the night of the party arrived, the group spent hours decorating the massive mansion, filling it with cobwebs, skeletons, and other spooky decorations. As the guests began to arrive, the party kicked off with music, food, and drinks. However, as the night wore on, strange things began to happen. Guests reported seeing figures moving in the shadows and hearing strange whispers coming from empty rooms. The atmosphere in the mansion grew darker and more ominous. As the night wore on, the occurrences grew more frequent and more terrifying. One guest reported seeing a figure in a black robe standing in the corner of the room, but when they turned on the lights, no one was there. Another guest reported feeling a cold hand grip their shoulder, but when they turned around, no one was there. Doors opened and closed on their own, and guests reported feeling as if they were being watched by something sinister. Guests reported being pushed or shoved by unseen forces, and some claimed to have been scratched or bitten by something that they could not see. Finally, the group of friends could take no more. They packed up their belongings and fled the mansion, leaving behind the nightmare that had consumed their lives. However, the terror did not end there. Over the next few weeks, many of the party guests reported experiencing strange occurrences in their own homes. Objects moved on their own, strange noises were heard in the dead of night, and some claimed to have seen ghostly apparitions. One of the friends, named Jessica, reported waking up in the middle of the night to find a figure standing at the foot of her bed. The figure was dressed in black and had glowing red eyes that seemed to stare right through her. Jessica tried to scream, but found that she could not move or make a sound. The figure then vanished into thin air, leaving Jessica shaken and terrified. Finally, the group of friends decided to hire a paranormal investigator to explore the mansion and try to rid them of the malevolent presence that seemed to be haunting them. The investigator arrived at the mansion with a team of assistants and high-tech equipment, ready to capture evidence of the supernatural. As they began their investigation, they heard strange noises coming from the upstairs bedrooms. One of the investigators reported feeling as if they were being watched by an unseen presence, and another reported feeling as if something was breathing down their neck. As they continued their investigation, they captured footage of objects moving on their own, doors opening and closing, and strange apparitions that seemed to flicker in and out of view. Finally, the investigators determined that the mansion was indeed haunted by malevolent spirits, and they performed a cleansing ritual to rid the house of the dark energy that had been lingering there. After the cleansing, the group of friends felt a weight lifted from their shoulders. The strange occurrences stopped, and they were finally able to move on from the terrifying experience. However, the mansion remained abandoned, a chilling reminder of the dark and haunted history that lurked within its walls. Today, the mansion still stands as a silent sentinel to the horrors that occurred within, and many people in the town avoid it altogether, fearing the dark forces that still may reside there. In the early 2010s, a group of friends threw a party at a rented cabin in the woods. The cabin was remote, nestled deep in the forest, with no other homes or structures nearby. As the night wore on, strange things began to happen. Guests reported feeling as if they were being watched, and hearing strange noises coming from the woods outside. One guest even claimed to have seen a figure moving among the trees, but dismissed it as their imagination. As the night progressed, the occurrences grew more frequent and more terrifying. One guest reported feeling a cold hand grab their shoulder, but when they turned around, no one was there. Another guest reported seeing a figure standing in the shadows, but when they turned on the lights, the figure had vanished. Finally, one of the guests went outside to get some air and noticed a strange flickering light in the distance. As they walked closer, they saw that it was a bonfire, surrounded by a group of people who were chanting and dancing around it. The guests tried to approach the group, but as they got closer, the chanting grew louder and more menacing. The figures around the fire seemed to be wearing strange animalistic masks, and the air was thick with the smell of smoke and burning flesh. Terrified, the guests turned and ran back to the cabin, but the strange occurrences continued. Doors opened and closed on their own, objects moved on their own, and guests reported hearing strange whispers and voices that seemed to be coming from nowhere. Finally, the group of friends decided to leave the cabin and return home. As they made their way back to their cars, they heard a loud, unearthly howl coming from the woods. The sound was unlike anything they had ever heard before, and it sent chills down their spines. After the party, many of the guests reported experiencing strange occurrences in their own homes. Objects moved on their own, doors opened and closed on their own, and some claimed to have seen ghostly apparitions. Today the cabin remains abandoned, a chilling reminder of the dark and haunted history that lurks within the woods. Whether the occurrences were the result of an overactive imagination or something far more sinister, one thing is certain: the memories of that terrifying night will never be forgotten.